Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And before Senator Reed leaves, I just want to, and thank you, gentlemen, for appearing. Thank you for raising that. I mean, I've been looking at this. I don't know that much about the Defense Production Act, but, you know, I think you are dead on an issue, and it's not something I've considered. I would encourage our colleagues here. I'm on the Intel Committee, and I don't know how, as you think through as they think through the capabilities in this reauthorization, how they might also intersect with some of the folks in the IC. But I really appreciate you raising this issue. It's not something that would immediately come to mind, but I think it's a great point.
I feel like our colleagues did in 1920, talking about these newfangled airplanes.
No, amen, amen. For everything that we have. As we all kind of struggle with this on various committees and how we get a framework in place, you know, thinking through some of the emergency components, I commend the member for his comments and questions, and, you know, put me as ditto, echoing what he said. I want to actually go back to Assistant Secretary Kendall and actually follow up on Senator Crapo's comments about the biofuels program. I understand that it's a relatively small initiative, and it is one, as you, I think, mentioned, that has both DOD, DOE, and Ag involved. But I actually think there is kind of a legitimate point. I concur, and Senator Crapo and I agree that, you know, our country needs an all-of-the-above energy policy, and we've seen remarkable progress in terms of gas and even some, you know, traditional oil reserves. But, you know, the notion that we're putting all our eggs in one basket is, I don't think, smart. And I actually think, particularly what Secretary Mabus has done on the Navy side has made sense. I'd point out the fact that, you know, DOD spends about $15 billion a year on fuel, and in the last couple of years, we've had $3 billion worth of unforeseen fuel charges, and I believe fiscal year 12 and 13, DOD was forced to ask Congress for a combined $2 billion in reprogramming funds to mitigate the price volatility in fuel costs. And I would argue that, you know, on biofuels, and let me quickly add here, with due respect to the chairman, hopefully non-corn-based biofuels, that, you know, this is an industry that held a lot of promise, but because there's been this lack of ability to kind of generate the volume, we've not seen the production costs come down. And it's my understanding that if we do get into this phase 2, that DOD will be able to purchase close to 170 million gallons, per year of drop-in military fuel. That this will production will begin in 2016, and I would raise the point that, and I've met with the Secretary on this, that the weighted price of this biofuel, and this has all been, I think, publicly released, would be less than $4 a gallon, and actually substantially less than $4 per gallon. I think, I'm sure whether the Secretary, Mr. Kendall, wants to give the actual price, but the price is actually lower in 2016 than what we're paying for conventional fuels. So I would argue, while this may be a relatively minor program, that the investments under the Defense Production Act that has been made by DOD, by DOE, and Ag to create something that could be a new industry for America meets the DOD's needs. You've got a $15 billion fuel cost that is very volatile. Being able to lock in at a very market competitive price a stable supply of fuel, and that stable supply could actually grow, would be tremendously valuable. And I've actually almost used up all my time. So if, Kendall, if you'd like to make a comment on that, I think you ought to be out there trumpeting this program and not simply saying it's, you know, simply one little side program. I think it'll be one of the great successes of this act.
Thank you, Senator. The reason we are doing the project is because it has that potential. Your figures on the, you know, the 15 million gallons and so on, $15 billion, I'm sorry, is correct. The target year is 2016, and it is a condition of the program that the production capacity be competitive with commercial prices, which means roughly in the neighborhood of $4 a gallon. And the current projections
My
are,
understanding is we're going to actually come in low, fairly lower than that.
well, we would need to commit at least at $4 a gallon, I would say. And the projections from the four people that we've selected to continue with this first phase suggest that they will get there. So remains to be proven, of course. I do want to go back to one thing you said earlier. We have not had to pay billions of dollars for unplanned cost per fuel. We were very concerned in FY12 that would happen. And at one point, we were considering a reprogramming, I believe. But we were able to manage our way through that period without having to do that. So I just want to correct the record for that because it came up. But your points about the purpose of the project and its potential, I think, are accurate. That's the intent. Secretary Mavis has been a very strong leader in this area, and it's that vision that has driven his support for the project.